Hey guys, it's Brandon, and this is Get Much Higher Podcast. I'm with my buddy Alex Robinson.
We're not really friends though.
We're pretty good friends.
We're pretty good friends.
He eats bread at my house.
That's true. I eat a gross amount of bread.
I break bread with this man.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
That's a
we
phrase.
break bread. I don't know. Like you hang out,
We just hang out,
we share food. I don't know. But anyways, everybody knows that Alex is the internet rap sort of like aficionado. You're always out there trying to listen to new music, seeing what's leaking, seeing what's coming out, seeing what's hot. You always have opinions about stuff. I heard there's a new Kid Cudi album that just dropped. What do you, like, you listened to it? Like, what did you think?
So this morning we had to go on like a field trip, so we had to wake up a little later. Yeah. I woke up at the same time though, because I knew that this Kid Cudi album, Speedin Bullet.
Speedin Bullet. How did he rate that on the album?
So I knew this album, Speedin Bullet to Heaven, was coming out today. So I woke up at the same time, 6:30, listened to that shit, and it's not really a hip hop album. I guess it's really a rock album more than anything.
Okay.
And obviously hip hop is it kind of has evolved from rock, so it's really not changing on the spectrum too much. But overall thoughts, straight up, without getting too into it, not my thing.
Not your thing.
It's somebody's thing. It's a lot of people's things. It's directed at a specific audience, but I am not that specific audience.
So like, what does this sound like on this? Because Kid Cudi has had like so many different styles. He's so versatile with his singing, his rapping, pop sounds, hip hop sounds.
It's reasonably distorted, kind of like his 2013 album. It's like Indicud, I think that was called. So reasonably distorted, but not like to the point of like Yeezus or like Rodeo or anything. But like lots of like distorted voices, lots of guitar. There's honestly either an electric guitar or an acoustic guitar on every single track. Not necessarily beat heavy. And I think the one thing that I would take away from the production is that a lot of the times with these albums that are a lot based around distortion and like big noisy sounds, is that the production is actually on point, and they at least have some like key or tone or like something you can vibe to.
Sort of melody, like,
yes. But it's really not like that with this at all. And I feel he doesn't even have bars. He barely sings. It's more like talking over guitars. Like, that's not to say throughout the entirety of the album. I'm just saying as a generalization, I'm not gonna say it's shit, because obviously it's
people
it's
like
art.
it.
Yeah, it's art, right? Like he's
subjective.
He's doing his thing. It's for like a very specific audience, like I said. But it doesn't feel like anything I've heard previously. Yeah.
So you mentioned this is not really like a rap album. It sounds more like rock.
Yeah.
But like, you know how like in a lot of hip hop songs they use instruments, like they use guitars, they use other instruments, but it's not necessarily recorded for that song. It might just be a sample, or it just might be something that's repeating. Like, did you get that feel that it was like acoustically recorded, or if it was
very much so. A lot of it felt kind of like the production may have taken a while, but I think for the most part, like the vocals were kind of like one takes, and for an example, one of the tracks, I think like reasonably early on in the album, he intros one of these songs by just saying it was something like, "Hey kid, you want some candy?" And he's whispering that constantly over and over again. Yeah, and like
maybe he's talking to himself though.
No, it's actually the song. The song itself, I believe, is actually directed at like addiction, kind of. And I'm talking about that because the one thing about this album is that it's actually the entire album is kind of orchestrated and revolved around mental issues and like mental instability, whatever you want to call that. And,
that's kind of the theme with Kid Cudi though. Like, he always talks about like internal struggles and like, you know, man in the mirror kind of stuff.
I'd say,
You mentioned this sort of has a concept. Is that the concept that he goes with this album? Is that the feel you got with this kind of music?
That's definitely the concept. It's a lot more organized than I expected it to be. So that's one good thing I can take out of this album. I felt like for each song, and like throughout the entirety of this album, he really covered every aspect of, you know, mental struggles, right? Like he covered paranoia, confusion, depression. That's like literally cool, like that is cool, right?
On paper it sounds cool.
And like one cool thing with the production is that although the production may not necessarily be rhythmic, is that a word? Rhythmic. Every song sounds like a mental disorder.
Every sound. Oh wow.
So like confusion.
That's kind of
confusion. The song sounds like it's confused. Paranoia. It's kind of tense. You know what I mean?
You don't like this album, but the way you're talking about it and the way you're describing it on paper makes me want to.
That's the thing. I get off to like really cool fucking like artistic visions. Like I'm a very like visual person.
Absolutely.
Like fucking like come on, but like for the most part, like it's not the type of music. But like on paper, I'm just kind of like looking at it from afar and kind of like if it was a picture, I would frame that picture in my house, but I would never be like, hey guys, look at this picture I just bought. You know what I mean?
It could add to the ambiance of a room, but it wouldn't necessarily be like a show off piece.
Yeah.
It's like this is beautiful art. No, it's not.
Yeah, but like to some people, like let's say you actually have like I took psychology. I shouldn't know the actual names for these disorders, but let's say you actually have paranoia.
Yeah.
You're gonna like that song is gonna feel like paranoia, and he did a really good job of doing that. I think it's really well done. But the actual music itself is not even really music as much as it's just
art.
Yeah, it's art.
It's more of an art thing. It's more of an art project.
So I think this album is gonna get a shit ton of criticism, but I think personally that's just because people aren't looking at it for what it is. This is not a hip hop album.
That kind of like has the same sort of feel to me, like the way you describe it, and people aren't going to get it, and you know, each song has a feel that like jumps out and is more like you see it and you feel it, the emotion. It invokes emotion out of you the way you said. Like I feel like a lot of people might relate to that, and that kind of like feels like Yeezus to me. Like the Yeezus album, because the first time I heard it, I'm like, this album kind of sucks. Like this album is not Kanye's usual thing. It's not what I expected.
It could be like that, and it was kind of like that with 808s too, aside from like the singles. But I could definitely see this being an album that is picked up later on. But I don't know. I don't. The thing with Yeezus, and I'm just saying this obviously because I'm a fucking Kanye fanboy. But the thing with Yeezus is that once that picked up, it became very influential. It was the type of like, this isn't too bad. That like it was like, this isn't too bad, let's start doing this too.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to pick up with this, just because it's too unique to kind of broadcast to other areas of music.
Okay, I mean that's fair. I mean, like with respect to Yeezus, a lot of people, like a lot of just average listeners of hip-hop or Kanye fans, they didn't expect that from him, so they didn't like it. A lot of people still don't like it.
Yeah.
I would still say most people who understand hip-hop don't like the Yeezus album. I think that's a fair statement. But what I was going to say is Kanye fans are people who truly understand where he's coming from. Like I didn't really understand that album until I saw an interview with him, and he explains sort of what's happening there, what he's aiming to do to the listener. You know, by making the songs in that certain way, distorting things, making things so off, and so like sonically awkward.
One thing I would say that this album has the potential to do, much like Yeezus, one approach to Yeezus was he didn't commercialize it or advertise it at all, right? He played the music video for New Slaves on, or was it Light Skin? I think it was
Times Square.
I think it was New Slaves on a wall. That was the only really advertisement that this had, right? Advertisement that this had. And we're the Speedin Bullet to Heaven. I don't, if it could be better advertised and it could be like better commercialized, I think this has the same potential that Yeezus had to be talked about for a long time. Yeezus is one of the most talked about albums ever. This came out like 2 or 3 years ago, and people are still ranting about it today, like we are now.
I like it.
Yeah, so
I'm a big fan of Yeezus.
So do I, but like whether you like it or not, that album is one of the most talked about albums that we've had recently, and this has the potential if it's advertised enough.
But then one's Kanye, one's Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi doesn't necessarily have the same influence.
These albums are not relatable at all. We're simply maybe a little bit, but we're not like, these aren't similar pieces of work. Don't like misunderstand us here. It's just a good example.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another example. It's the way you were talking about it. It's just like it's got all these different elements to it that's kind of awkward, kind of weird to listen to. That just, to me, sounds like Yeezus, because that's the experience that I had with Yeezus.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm kind of interested in listening to this. Would you recommend this to the average listener, or is this something that if you stumble upon and you like it, stick with it?
I'd say diehard Cudi fans are gonna love this.
Yeah.
I'd say diehard hip hop fans should definitely listen to this. I think respect it at least, but maybe not like it necessarily. But definitely the targeted audience is gonna eat this shit up, and like rightfully, because it's really well done. It's 26 fucking tracks too.
It's a big album.
Yeah, it's a very.
It's a lot of disorders to cover.
Yeah, but he fucking, like I said, you got every corner of that shit. Like, he's very well done.
Well, like, from what you're telling me, I do have to respect that, the fact that this guy's just going out on his limb and just making the kind of music that he wants to make. Like, he wants to talk about all these issues and sort of just dive into it and not just try to sugarcoat it and make something that sounds nice and maybe you could play on the radio or something like that. But he's just trying to dive in and pull that emotion out of you and, like, maybe connect to somebody that does have these disorders or experience some of the same things that can actually relate to the songs and relate to Kid Cudi. So you have to respect him there. I respect him for just, taking a risk and doing something different and just doing something that
I totally
personal.
I totally respect that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I two things I want to say before we end this. First of all, it's selfish, I know, but like he covered every aspect of mental disorders, at least it felt like, except for synesthesia. I would have loved that. I have chromesthesia. That would have been so cool if I got to hear music that was meant for. I guess you really have to have that to see that.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, that would, I don't know.
At the same time,
I feel left out. That's all.
At the same time, he's making music that you're experiencing in that way because of the disorder or whatever.
That is very true. Yeah, it is. I don't know. I feel left out, but that's not a criticism. That's just me making a dumb comment.
Does he talk about obesity?
I'm not sure.
If he doesn't, then I feel left out.
I don't think so.
If
you're gonna listen to one song off this album, and you don't really give the full thing to listen to Confused. If you like that, listen to the actual single off the album, which is Speedin Bullet to Heaven, which is what the album is named after. But,
last question before we end this. I know it's not an official review, but I just have to ask you, out of 10, with all those things in mind that you said, and not scaling this on the same level as a regular hip hop album.
As an album, not as any specific type of album for any specific genre. It's got to be between 8 and an 8.5 for me.
Wow.
But I'm going to give this an 8.
You're going to give this an 8.
But that's just like, even that, I don't appreciate the music though. I appreciate like the album.
Yeah.
And like the
concept. Artistry there.
Yeah, I appreciate the artistry more than the music itself. And even from that perspective, I'm going to give it an 8. But that's, like, you know what I mean. Like,
I totally understand what you mean, and I respect that too, and I'm already giving that at least a 5. And then I'll hear the album. Yeah, I mean, give it a few listens and see. Let me know what you feel about it.
I will, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyways, is there anything else you want to add?
Make Man on the Moon 3. What the fuck are you doing? Like,
yeah, make Man on the Moon.
Man on the Moon 1 was the best debut album I have ever heard. Yeah. Straight on. I'm not even a diehard Cudi fan, but I think Man on the Moon 1 was one of the best fucking debut albums that's ever been released. Oh. One of the best. Not Man on the Moon 3. Make it. Fuck you. Go. Bye.
Peace out. Come to Vancouver as well. It just dropped. What did you listened to it? Like, what did you think?
So this morning we had to go on like a field trip, so we had to wake up a little later. Yeah. I woke up at the same time though, because I knew that this Kid Cudi album, Speedin Bullet.
Speedin Bullet. How did he rate that on the album?
So it's really not changing on the spectrum too much, but overall thoughts, straight up, without getting too into it, not my thing.
Not your thing.
It's somebody's thing. It's a lot of people's things. It's directed at a specific audience, but I am not that specific audience.
So like, what does this sound like on this? Because Kid Cudi has had. Hey guys, it's Brandon, and this is Get Much Higher podcast. I'm with my buddy Alex Robinson.
We're not really friends though.
We're pretty good friends.
We're pretty good friends.
He eats bread at my house.
That's true. I eat a gross amount of bread.
I break bread with this man.
What does that mean?
I know that's a phrase. We break bread. I don't know. Like you hang out. We share food. I don't know. But anyways, everybody knows that Alex is the internet rap sort of like aficionado. You're always out there trying to listen to new music, seeing what's leaking, seeing what's coming out, seeing what's hot. You always have opinions about stuff. I heard this new Kid Cudi album.
So I knew this album, Speedin Bullet to Heaven, was coming out today. So I woke up at the same time, 6:30, listened to that shit, and it's not really a hip-hop album. I guess it's really a rock album more than anything.
Okay.
And obviously hip hop is kind of has evolved from rock.